The knock came at exactly midnight. Not the polite kind. Not the hesitant tap of a neighbor needing sugar. It was firm, certain, intentional. Ethan froze in the dim glow of the Christmas tree lights, a half-wrapped toy truck resting in his lap. Outside, snow fell in slow, silent sheets, covering the world in white. Inside, his small house felt hollow, too quiet, too heavy. He wasn't expecting anyone. He hadn't expected anyone all day, because no one ever came. If you believe in kindness, in second chances, and in the kind of miracles that don't need angels to happen, take a moment right now to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to the channel. Stories like this deserve to be felt, not just watched. Ethan Harper hadn't planned to spend Christmas alone. No one ever does. But life doesn't always ask what you planned. 2 years earlier, he had lost his wife Claire to a sudden illness that arrived like a storm and left just as quickly, except the damage stayed. What remained was a quiet house, a 3-year-old daughter named Lily, and a mountain of medical bills that swallowed every ounce of stability he once had. Being a single father wasn't something he feared. It was something he embraced. Lily was the reason he woke up every morning, the reason he pushed through double shifts, the reason he smiled even when exhaustion pressed into his bones. But this Christmas was different. Lily was spending the holiday with Claire's parents across the state. They insisted. They said Ethan needed rest. They said Lily needed family. They didn't say what everyone knew, that Ethan couldn't afford the trip and pride kept him from admitting it. So he let her go. The house had never felt so empty. The stockings hung untouched. One small pink stocking with glitter letters spelling Lily, and one plain red stocking that had once belonged to Claire. Ethan never had the heart to take it down. The tree blinked softly in the corner, decorated with handmade ornaments Lily had crafted at daycare. Paper stars, crooked snowflakes, a popsicle stick angel missing one wing. He had worked late on Christmas Eve. His job as a logistics coordinator at a tech distribution company didn't pay much, but it paid enough to keep the lights on. Barely. The company was run by a woman most employees only saw from a distance, CEO Victoria Hale. Victoria was known for her precision, her intelligence, her unshakable composure. She had taken over the struggling company 5 years earlier and rebuilt it from near bankruptcy into something stable, something respected. Employees admired her, but few truly knew her. Ethan certainly didn't. To him, she was a name on emails, a figure at quarterly meetings, a woman in tailored suits who walked with purpose. The knock came again. Ethan set the toy truck aside and stood slowly, heart thudding. He wasn't afraid, just confused. Midnight visitors didn't bring good news. When he opened the door, the cold air rushed in like a breath stolen from winter itself. And standing there, framed by falling snow and streetlight glow, was Victoria Hale. She wasn't in a tailored suit tonight. She wore a long wool coat dusted with snow, her dark hair pulled back loosely, cheeks pink from the cold. In her hands, she carried 2 large boxes wrapped in silver paper and a smaller gift bag hanging from her wrist. Behind her, a black SUV idled quietly. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Ethan's mind raced. Had he made a mistake at work? Was there an emergency? Why was his CEO standing on his porch at midnight on Christmas? But there was no anger in her eyes, no corporate urgency, only something softer, something almost uncertain. Victoria had spent her evening differently, in a penthouse apartment overlooking the city skyline, surrounded by glass walls and expensive silence. A catered dinner untouched, a grand piano no one played, a tree decorated by professionals, flawless and lifeless. She had built an empire, but she had no one to share it with. Her parents were gone. No siblings, no partner. Work had always been easier than relationships. Numbers were predictable, people were not. Earlier that week, she had stayed late at the office reviewing year-end reports when she overheard a conversation between 2 managers. They were discussing holiday schedules, and one of them mentioned Ethan, how he'd volunteered for extra shifts, how his daughter was out of town, how he never complained. They spoke about him with quiet respect. Victoria had opened his file later that night, not out of suspicion, out of curiosity. She read about his performance, exceptional, reliable. She read the HR notes about emergency leave 2 years ago, Wife deceased, single parent, financial hardship noted but never formally requested assistance. Something in her chest tightened. She had grown up watching her own father lose everything when his employer refused compassion during a family crisis. She had built her company differently, or at least she thought she had. But reading Ethan's file made her realize that policies alone didn't create humanity, actions did. So she did something completely unlike her. She drove to his house. Now, standing on his porch, snow gathering at her feet, she felt strangely vulnerable. Ethan stepped aside automatically, still stunned. Victoria entered the modest living room and paused. Her eyes moved slowly over the space. The worn couch, the small coffee table with unpaid bills stacked neatly, the glowing tree, the handmade ornaments. It wasn't grand. It wasn't polished. But it felt alive in a way her penthouse never had. Ethan closed the door, his heart still pounding. He felt exposed, not because of the house, but because of what it represented. His struggle, his limitations, his quiet endurance. Victoria placed the boxes gently beneath the tree. She explained in calm, measured words that the company had created a discretionary holiday fund for employees facing hardship. She admitted she should have made the program more visible. She said she had learned tonight that leadership meant showing up, not just signing checks. Ethan listened, barely processing. He wasn't used to help arriving without conditions. He wasn't used to someone in power seeing him. Victoria handed him an envelope. Inside was a bonus far larger than anything he had ever received. Enough to clear his remaining medical debt. Enough to fix the car that had been threatening to die for months. Enough to breathe. Ethan felt something inside him crack. Not pride, but pressure. The kind that builds silently over years. His vision blurred, and he had to sit down. Victoria didn't rush him. She didn't offer rehearsed comfort. She simply stood there, present. But the night wasn't only about money. The smaller gift bag contained toys for Lily, carefully chosen, not generic. A children's book about brave girls and single fathers. A soft stuffed rabbit. A glitter art kit. Victoria had asked HR about Lily's age. She had paid attention. For the first time in 2 years, Ethan felt like someone else was carrying a piece of his burden. The clock ticked past midnight. Christmas had officially arrived. Victoria glanced at the empty red stocking hanging beside Lily's. She asked about Claire, gently, respectfully. Ethan spoke about his wife not with dramatic grief, but with steady remembrance. He described her laugh, her love for baking, the way she used to over-decorate the house every December. Victoria listened in a way few people do, without interruption, without impatience. And in that quiet exchange, something shifted. Not romance, not obligation, but understanding. Victoria confessed that she had almost stayed home tonight, that she almost convinced herself it wasn't appropriate. But she realized that loneliness doesn't care about titles. It doesn't care about wealth. It doesn't care about pride. She admitted that she too had spent Christmases alone, by choice at first, then by habit. Success had filled her calendar but emptied her personal life. She had built walls so high that no one knew how to knock. Ethan looked around his small living room and saw it differently. It wasn't a symbol of failure. It was a place of survival, of love, of resilience. They sat at the small kitchen table, sharing reheated coffee and quiet stories. Outside, the snow continued to fall, softening the world. For the first time in years, Christmas didn't feel like something Ethan had to endure. It felt like something happening to him, something warm. Before Victoria left, she made him a promise, not as a CEO, but as a person. She would create a mentorship initiative for single parents in the company. She would ensure no employee felt invisible during hardship. She would lead differently, and she kept that promise. In the months that followed, the company culture transformed. Financial assistance programs became transparent. Flexible scheduling expanded. Employee support networks formed. Productivity didn't drop, it soared. Because people who feel valued work with loyalty that can't be bought. Ethan was promoted within a year, not out of charity, but because his leadership quietly inspired others. He trained new hires. He spearheaded efficiency improvements. He stood taller. Victoria visited his home again, this time for Lily's birthday, invited not as a boss but as a friend. Lily adored her. The stuffed rabbit became her favorite toy, but the most important change wasn't external, it was internal. Ethan stopped feeling ashamed of needing help. Victoria stopped hiding behind success. Two lonely people had knocked on each other's walls that night and found something human on the other side. Christmas returned a year later. The house looked different. Not bigger, not richer, just fuller. Lily ran through the living room in pajamas covered in snowmen. Laughter echoed off the walls. The red stocking still hung by the tree, but now it felt like memory instead of pain. At midnight, there was another knock. This time, Ethan smiled before opening the door. Victoria stood there again, snow in her hair, but no hesitation in her eyes. She wasn't carrying boxes tonight, just a pie she had baked herself. Slightly lopsided, imperfect, real. And as the door closed behind her, warmth filled the house completely. If this story touched your heart, if it reminded you that kindness can change the direction of someone's entire life, please take a moment to like the video, share it with someone who believes in compassion, and subscribe to the channel for more stories that matter. Your support keeps these stories alive. And before we end, here's something special. Comment the word hope below if you believe that even the loneliest nights can lead to unexpected blessings. Because sometimes, the greatest gifts don't fit under a tree. Sometimes, they knock.